to bring me happy. Thank you, happy.
Welcome back, Trekkies. This is a Captain's Log. My name is Bryan Kreutz, the ambassador to you, the fans. I'm joined by the one and only Lili Fox-Lim.
Oh, hey BK.
Yes.
Last episode, we got you all updated on Star Trek Discovery's final season and all the news surrounding it. The last episode, we met President Tarina, or the actress, I should say, Tara Rosling.
Mm-hmm.
Also, the episode featured some of my best work as I used the Vulcan mind meld on you, BK. You want to give it a second try now?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's been long enough, right?
Absolutely. Let's do it again.
Oh,
I am
okay.
still exhausted, though, from the first one, so I don't know. Will we have time in this episode?
No.
Okay.
Let's probably
All
wait.
right.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe we have some questions that we can ask Tara about with mind melding, right?
We do. Okay, since a mind meld might be too much for you, how about a traditional Vulcan Thresh-tor kashek meditation technique to calm us down? President Tarina introduced us to this technique in Season 4, Episode 4, called All is Possible.
Oh,
Okay,
wow.
here. All right,
Okay.
let's see. Okay. Like this. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Now close your eyes and take a deep breath. Close your eyes.
How did you know I opened them?
I just sensed it. Okay. One more.
Wow, you know what? I do feel better. Yes, it works.
Yeah. Okay.
Those Vulcans, my goodness. I feel completely recharged and ready to surge towards the second part interview with Tara Rosling. Nicely done.
And let's charge full speed ahead.
All right. Charging ahead at Warp Factor 9, let's open with Star Trek Strange New Worlds, Lili. Star Trek Strange New Worlds fans should brace themselves for an even crazier upcoming Season 3. Anson Mount, who plays Captain Christopher Pike as the lead actor, recently teased how the beloved Star Trek series will continue to throw some curveballs at us as the audience in a recent interview with Gold Derby. Now, Mount's reveal was about the creative risks that the show took this season. Mount says that next season will be even more ambitious with even more curveballs, teasing that Season 3, which just wrapped production about a week ago, is, quote, not just an exciting season, I think storytelling-wise, development-wise, technically, it's going to be our best season so far, and a lot of that has to do with even bigger swings being taken. The musical episode will not be the craziest thing that we did or we have done by the end of this. Mount went on to say, we're feeling more ownership over what it is that we're doing and realizing that it continues to resonate. End quote. So there you have it, Lili. Looking forward to another season of Star Trek Strange New Worlds. And in another news story, Lili, Paul Giamatti boards Star Trek Starfleet Academy as the main villain. Now, Giamatti publicly mentioned that he's always wanted to be a part of Star Trek. While on a press tour for his most recent event, the film The Holdovers, Giamatti even recited his famous sideways monologue about drinking Merlot but in fluent Klingon. Because Giamatti is confirmed as the villain of Star Trek Starfleet Academy, will he be a Klingon or perhaps something else? That's the big question. Now, on the casting of Giamatti, Starfleet Academy co-showrunners Alex Kurtzman and Noga Landau said, quote, sometimes you're lucky enough to discover that one of the greatest actors alive is also a huge Star Trek fan, and meeting Paul was one of those miraculous moments for us, end quote. Now, this is set for a 2025 release date on the Paramount Plus sci-fi drama, which will also be starring Holly Hunter, set in the Star Trek Discovery timeline. Production on Star Trek Starfleet Academy will begin later this summer in Canada. Oh, and by the way, Giamatti, the Oscar-nominated star of The Holdovers, will have a recurring guest star role as the season's central villain. Now, it's described as a man with an ominous past with a connection to one of the show's cadets. Giamatti is fresh off a starring role on Showtime's Billions, and with the Star Trek casting, will remain in the global Paramount fold. While fans can look forward to whatever Giamatti ends up doing in Star Trek Starfleet Academy, he joins a very proud tradition of famous geeks who have boldly gone here before. Let's get to our next news story. And last, but definitely not least, for a news story, we've learned the second season of Star Trek Prodigy will arrive in a couple weeks. On July 1st on Netflix, there will be a second season premiere. Star Trek Prodigy, the remarkable animated kids show from the creators Kevin and Dan Hageman, will continue the adventures where they left off at Starfleet in San Francisco, California, as we learned from Bonnie Gordon, by the way, here on a Captain's Log. There will be no proto-star ship with her computer voice. Rather, we will hear her as the Starfleet computer and many other characters, like our favorite character, Rock Talk, voiced by the amazing Riley Alizraki, whom we will also have as an interview guest coming up in this season on a Captain's Log. Now, this news of Netflix releasing brand new, never-before-seen episodes of Star Trek Prodigy, remember, were produced under the Nickelodeon Paramount Studios, and according to Netflix services, Coming Soon tab and the show's creators, this exciting news about Star Trek Prodigy Season 2 is fantastic. Now, it's very clear that Netflix plans to release the entire 20-episode season all at once. Let's get right back to our interview with Tara Rosling. You have the next question for Tara, Lili.
Tara, in the early Season 4 Discovery episode, All Is Possible, Burnham references her concern about Booker having a mind meld with your Vulcan character in the teaser. Later, despite political hesitancy on Navarre, your character led the Vulcans' re-entry into the Federation. Also, it's later revealed that Tarina herself had secretly alerted the Federation president of her people's wishes for an exit clause. But after successful negotiations, Tarina simply had tea with Captain Saru.
Tea.
We're seeing so many enormous new Star Trek Vulcan moments centered around your character being established, including a special bond and connection between Tarina and Saru.
One of the lovely things that I, as the actress, was given to negotiate was the political versus the personal. And that was always a really lovely challenge in terms of, it comes up again in season 5, is, you know, first and foremost, she's a president. And the very difficult the very difficult decisions that she has to make, putting the personal aside and being the leader that she has to be. So I've, like, as an actress, I don't know that I've ever been cast as a leader before. Like, I was cast as St. Joan, a 14-year-old girl who led an army, you know, but yeah, again, I think that fits so nicely in the pocket of the Vulcan, you know, what cards do you show, what cards do you play, what do you keep close to your chest, and I just loved how they wrote her in terms of, you know, I think that's the Vulcan legacy is first and foremost dealing diplomatically and defending peace whenever possible.
Mr. Saru.
I hope I'm not disturbing you.
Not at all. It is always a pleasure to hear from you.
Well, I wonder if I may ask a favor. On Navarre, I joined you in a Thresh-tor kashek meditation. I found it greatly helpful in settling my mind. I could use such help now.
Of course. Your hands. Breathe deeply. You are having difficulty focusing.
I am distracted, yes. The mission to stop Mr. Booker will be a most unfortunate undertaking.
Indeed, it will. But I sense that is not all.
You are insightful, as ever.
My ward, Sukhal, he is deeply worried about the anomaly. I do not know how to comfort him.
Now, of course, at such a dire time, these personal feelings are of little import.
Such feelings are always of import. May I suggest, when formal meditation proves challenging, I find the peaceful routines of daily life and the joyful connection therein can help reestablish inner balance. A walk, perhaps, or a shared meal between friends. I would be pleased to join you if you'd like.
I will consider that. Thank you, Madam President.
Of course. Good luck, Mr. Saru.
Had you been a fan of any Star Trek movie or series prior to that, and were you a fan of Spock, Sarek, or Tuvok? And what are some of the things that you like about playing Tarina?
I think if anyone, it was Leonard. I to be perfectly honest, I did do a tiny little bit of research when I had to do a mind meld because I was so curious. I was like, mind meld. First of all, I was like uber excited. I get to do mind meld. Is that not the coolest thing ever? And then I was just curious because, like, you know, I had this kind of idea in my mind's eye, how it all worked. But so I did some Googling and I looked at some old footage and, you know, the original Star Trek, and I found actually there are different hand configurations, there are different finger configurations, and you know, they all kind of follow the same prototype. So specifically for that moment with book, I did do some research, and I think that Leonard Nimoy was definitely the person that I would, if I was to research anybody in depth, it would be him, his particular portrayal.
Tell us about the process of putting on the Vulcan ears. Do you get to keep a pair after Star Trek Discovery had put a wrap on the series? And are they comfortable to wear for hours at a time?
Yeah. In fact, they're much less sort of glamorous than one would imagine. They're basically glue. At the end of the day, if I wanted, there was a number of people actually that asked me if they could have a pair of my ears. And so I did. And I jokingly said to my agent at one point, I said, if you do this, I'll give you a pair of Vulcan ears. And I mailed them to him. Because they use alcohol to take them off at the end of the day. They use a swab and they, you know, melt all the glue to get them off your ears. So it's really just half of an ear, right? Like it just sits on the top of my lobe. It's this little point. And I must have taken half a dozen pairs of ears home. And I think Callum Keith Rennie, like he capped a whole bunch of his ears too. I think one day on set, he gave me, it was very Van Gogh, like he gave me one of his ears. I might have given him like a baked good. And so in return, he gave me like an ear. So I think we're not the first and we won't be the last. He's not a Vulcan, but to take our prosthetics home. No, and this is crazy too. Like I'm a bit of an environmentalist, so I'm always astounded by the amount of waste that is produced by being on set. But at the end of the day, Doug Jones's face goes in the garbage.
Really? Oh my God.
It's a disposable. There's a new one every day. So
is that the same for the Vulcan ears too? Like, do you think they throw a lot of that to it?
Everything's disposable, except for the brows. My brows are not. My brows, they actually had, they saved those and used them numerous times. But to put the brows on, they'd put a brow plate. So that's like a big glue patch to cover my own eyebrows. And then they put the little ones on top, and the ears are made of glue. And then, his head would go on in pieces. And at the end of the day, they just cut it down the back, peel it off. He'd yell, "It's a boy!" And then they'd throw it in the garbage.
Without any spoilers or reveals, I completely respect the secrecy of not talking about what's around the corner for the final season of Star Trek V of Star Trek Discovery. Now, Tara, are you at liberty to tell us at least a little bit about your Tarina character? And will she appear at least multiple times this season? Or is there something else you can tease us with? Maybe a simple answer? We know you have an NDA,
Please.
so.
No, I'm NDA.
A captain's log returns in a moment.
Welcome back to Broadcast TV's only Star Trek talk show, A Captain's Log. I'm Bryan Kreutz. Tara Rosling is a celebrated Canadian theater actress who has played many leading roles upon the stages. Let's not overlook Rosling's early career in independent short films to kick off her way into the spotlight. Lili, you have the next question for our guest, Tara.
The Star Trek universe is well known for having some of the most zealous and loyal fans in the world. Have you ever participated in any Star Trek conventions or other outreaches to fans?
So I went to a convention in Vegas. I think it was 2020. And that was my very first convention ever. I mean, I think if anything, I just found it so beautiful. All the love, the fans come with such love, and I was met with such warmth and curiosity, and no, it was a delightful experience. It was hot. I'm not really one for Vegas, and I think it was when we were there, it was 40 degrees, like it was stinking hot.
Oh, Celsius. That's right. Because you're from Canada.
Yeah, sorry, I'm a Celsius girl. And then I've done one other convention where I went to StarCon Italia, and that was in what are we now, 24? That would have been 22. And that again was an incredible experience. Everybody was so kind, so gracious, generous, warm, and the country was astonishingly beautiful. The food is amazing. And then I'm going to do one in New York in May or June.
Oh, wow. Not
So
New
Long
York.
Island, Trek Long Island.
Long Island. Okay.
Yeah, and that will be my third. But yeah, and I've received very sweet, letters in the mail, and I find it all very charming. No, there hasn't been any weird, knock on wood. There's been no like stalking or no, there's been nothing weird and nothing creepy. Everybody's been very respectful and very generous.
A Captain's Log returns in a moment.
I want to be with you. Always.
I had dared to hope that you would make such a decision. If I may, I do believe it would be only logical, given this development, for us to codify our mutual commitment in a more official capacity.
Trina, are you asking me to marry you?
I believe that is the language some cultures use for it.
Oh.
This is Lili Fox-Lim, and I welcome you back to A Captain's Log. Hollywood will always be known as the center metropolis of entertainment. This, of course, includes science fiction and much of Star Trek, with home-based studios over the history of Star Trek being planted at Paramount Studios in Hollywood, then beaming over to nearby Santa Clarita Studios in Santa Clarita, California. Star Trek ventured into the Great White North of Canada with Titmouse Studio in Vancouver's Mount Pleasant neighborhood, and a place all too familiar for Tara Rosling, Pinewood, Toronto Studios, the main filming location for Star Trek Discovery's 5-year run. For this multifaceted actress named Tara Rosling, she is at the center of our discussion, working regularly, not only in the US and Canada, but rather into the universe and beyond because of Star Trek. Let's continue with Tara Rosling.
Now, Tara, you've acted in a wide variety of movies and TV series. Is there a particular type of role that you most enjoy playing? And is there an upcoming role that you're excited to talk about for the future in your career?
I mean, I think historically I've been cast. I'm not really a comedian. I've done a lot of drama. I've done a lot of pretty heavy stuff, and I think that's just kind of where I've come from as a human being, what's informed me, and what worlds I find that I'm, in my past, certainly most suited for. I've been very fortunate at the Shaw that I've been gifted some beautiful parts. Like, as I mentioned before, I played St. Joan, which is an extraordinary role for I was younger at the time, for a young woman. And the heiress, which again is drama. And I guess I've done kind of 50-50 when it comes to classical theater and new works. I worked a lot in contemporary theater when I was working in Toronto as a young actress, where you do fringe festivals or whatever you can just to get some work. So hopefully someone will see your work and hire you and actually pay you to do what you love. And in terms of the future, I can say that I'm going on a very new adventure next year at the Shaw Festival. I'm going to be what's called an intern director, and so every year they bring on 2 people who've had limited experience in the world of directing, and you work as an assistant on 2 productions, and then you choose a 1-act play and you cast it and direct it, and then it is showcased for the industry in the fall. So I'm tremendously excited to sort of explore and exercise musculature in an area that I don't have a lot of experience or expertise. But any time that I have worked in that world, I've really found it tremendously rewarding.
So cool, Tara. Thanks for sharing that. Now, you're ushering in new talent to the theater world as an intern director. And you're also an assistant director. Now, talk about the biggest challenges that you will face.
I think the biggest challenge is going to be just watching.
Okay.
I'm very much a doer. I like to be active and I like to do things. And so, because I'll be in the passenger seat, but I'll have the great luxury of watching, like, a lot of people that I've worked with as actor colleagues over the years, just to sit back and observe. And then I think that, depending on who you're working with, some of them will be open to what you have to offer, and some of them less so, depending on where they are in their career and if they feel threatened or blah, 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 blah. But I think I'll learn a tremendous amount. And certainly I'll learn more if I enjoyed the art of directing.
Tara, talk about your plans to go behind the camera this time and direct, and how you opened a small business.
Right now I have my pipe dream is my daughter is about to turn 15, is when she leaves home, I'd love to go off and do like direct little regional plays. I don't have aspirations of directing big, huge shows on the main stage, but I love to keep learning. That's I've done many little adventures during my career. I got my yoga certification, so taught yoga, and then at one point I opened a small eco-friendly business called Little Green Shop, and I studied piano really fervently for 5 years. And so I just tend to, I like to keep challenging myself.
Tara, that's great, finding the time to direct regional plays after your daughter leaves home. Now, can we talk about your business side and some new pictures of the Little Green Shop?
Oh, thank you. It's now closed. It was a pandemic. It was my pandemic baby. Yeah.
Okay.
Nobody in Niagara-on-the-Lake wants eco-friendly products.
You're so funny. That's the end of the interview, and Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
You know, this has truly been a special episode. Lili and I are never afraid to put our bodies to the test during our combat sequences, or maybe mind melds, right? And this might be the first time we ever put our minds to the test with in this two-parter with a mind meld, right?
That's right, BK. And let me just say, it was an absolute honor mind melding and meditating with you these past 2 episodes. It felt only right after interviewing the President Tarina,
Yes.
played by Tara Rosling, didn't it?
It really did, Lili. Now, the director is waving at me to stop talking here. So before we go over the time limit, it's time to log off. Until next time, live long and prosper.
Hello, happy, my old friend. I'm glad you've manifested yourself into a human I can depend on to bring me happy. Old friend, I'm glad you've manifested yourself into a human I can depend on to bring me happy.